What is going on, everybody? My name is Eric, and you are listening to another exciting episode of the Unlockables podcast, the story of video games, the people who play them, and the memories made along the way. As always, I appreciate you tuning in, wherever and whenever in time and space you might be located. It means a lot that you're willing to spend just a little bit of your valuable time with us each and every week. But listen, I'm not going to drone on about my usual intro here because I have some very exciting guests waiting in the wings. It is my good friends, Andrew and Dylan from the Friendly Neighborhood Gamers. Guys, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. Dylan, how are you doing?
I am doing well as well. I can't complain as usual. So.
Can never complain.
Nope.
You feel free, man. This is a rant acceptable zone. So if you got anything to get off your chest now, I would just go ahead and do it.
He literally
cannot.
co-host.
He's just he's a work, that guy. So.
I see how it is.
I'm glad it's the continuation of a long and fruitful relationship. So, but guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. You guys I had the honor to come on your show a couple weeks ago, and I guess we kind of did like a quid pro quo. It's like, hey, come on my show, I'll come on your show, do like an even exchange, So yeah. That was a great experience. That episode is out now. I'll plug that right now. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out. It's awesome. And also then when you do that, check out all the other episodes too. Just binge them all at once. It's definitely worth it. So, but guys, normally before we dive into the good stuff here, I normally ask, since it's a video game podcast, you guys been playing anything good? And then Andrew, Dylan, you guys can coin toss who wants to go first. So just go for it.
Yeah. I'll let Andrew go first. He was talking about a little bit of the stuff he was playing, and I want to hear more.
Perfect.
Okay, let's see. So what I've been playing currently, Elden Ring wrapped up. That consumed my life for a couple months after its release. I did a whole playthrough with one character, and then I'm probably about a third of the way through on a second character, and then
nice.
Start some other games. So currently I'm playing Tales of Arise is probably the biggest one that I'm playing right now. So I've been enjoying that. Playing it on PS5. Got it real cheap through like GameStop couponery and whatnot. And so that game's been really fun. It's definitely got a lot of the kind of like JRPG anime tropes, but it just has a really awesome combat system and a story that I think is sort of somewhat simple, I guess, in how it's set up, but I like the characters a lot and I like the way that they frame it all. And so I'm pretty engaged. I like the story so far, and the combat system has just been a lot of fun. It's real-time action. Like you go into encounters in the world and it takes you to like a separate like battle area. But it is, I guess, kind of similar to Final Fantasy VII Remake, where you're doing actions as your character and then you're telling the other characters what to do, but they're also doing things on their own if you're not commanding them. So they're kind of doing their thing, you're doing their thing, and the whole idea is you're kind of looking for synergy, like how best can I optimize my squad and what we're doing in this particular fight. And so that's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed that.
That's cool. It's been on my list. When it came out, I think it came out tail end of last year, correct? Or like maybe fall last year.
Yeah, it was last year.
So it was on my list. I didn't pick it up I was just playing too many other things at that time. It seemed like it was a little bit lengthy, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. And I heard the developer the other day say they passed like 2 million copies sold or something like that. So that's fantastic awesome for that game. Yeah.
I had also heard really good things about it. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to check it out, because I had heard not just from like your IGNs and GameSpots and all that giving it good reviews, but like, friends and people that I knew playing it were like, man, this game is actually a lot of fun. And so this was a good time to dive in.
The standard, the usual IGN between 8 and 8.5 out of 10, where it's just like, every game's 8.5 out of 10.
Literally everything they reviewed last year was an 8. It was driving me crazy. This year they've thrown some 7s in there.
Oh, so you got to mix it up a little bit to keep the fans guessing, right? But that's very cool. It seemed like last year was a really awesome year for RPGs with that, and Scarlet Nexus was also on my list because that looked awesome as well. So definitely gonna have to pick that up for sure. Dylan, you been playing anything good, man?
So like Andrew, after Elden Ring, I was also trying to find something to fill that void. Not that I have really stopped Elden Ring hardcore fully, like I'll still load into it and mess around in it, but
It's still downloaded for sure. Yeah, it's always right there.
Exactly. But I went down this past month or so has been pretty busy for me with classes and school and stuff. And so, so I've been trying to get in a lot of like just quick little things. I didn't want to get too invested in like a big overarching story after Elden Ring, because that already took enough of that for me. So a lot of what I've been playing has been, I guess, like battle royale-ish. I wouldn't normally consider myself to be like a big battle royale player, mostly because I don't feel like I'm good enough, and I don't like pairing up with like random people. And so it's, a lot of the time you're just at a disadvantage because it's matching you with like either really, really good people who are solo or like against teams of 3 or 4.
Right.
So I have been playing a lot of Hunt Showdown, which I had seen a bunch, like it kept popping up on lists of like, this is one of the best games you've probably you're not playing sort of thing. And like it's doing new unique stuff in the battle royale space, like all of those kind of articles. And so I checked it out. I had played it like way back when it was still like early on in its development. And I like that it does like some new, like rather than having it just be like player versus player, they've got a bunch of like enemies in there that are just like world enemies. And instead of like a random ring of storm or gas or whatever pushing you towards, points, you're collecting information and heading towards like these world bosses that you're trying to take out as, either a solo player as a team. And so the whole map stays open the entire time, and you can make a lot of like cool decisions, and it's a lot smaller, more condensed of a thing, and so that's been fun. And then I got back into Fortnite a little bit over the past week or so, just because they've been doing their Star Wars event. And I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I was like, I'll get back in there and run around with a lightsaber. That's fun. And I guess they put in like a no build mode. And so that was always one of the big turnoffs for me with Fortnite, because it's always been a really solid like third person shooter, which is what I like. But the building, I was like, I don't want to like get down and have some like 12-year-old just like build this massive tower in 3 seconds and kill me. And so now I feel like we're on a level playing field there, because there is no building.
What if it's a 13-year-old? You're okay with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, if a 13-year-old's good enough to beat me with my like 13 plus years of experience in gaming, it's like, that's fair, man.
Just not a 12-year-old. Just not a 12-year-old.
Well, it is what, like, if a 4-year-old gets me on their mom's phone, that's fine. I deserved it. And then I played a little bit of Warzone this week too, because they put in that Godzilla event, and I'm a big like Godzilla fan. So
I saw that. What a fascinating thing to put into Warzone. That's
right.
How was that? Did it end up being pretty good?
I mean, to me, like I don't know how good it is or not, because I'm not like I don't really play Warzone, so I don't know if it's like drastically improved or changed anything. But for me, as a Godzilla fan, dropping into an island and seeing King Kong and Godzilla on it, and then like King Kong will just like show up and like slam around a bunch of players and kill them, or Godzilla will breathe his like flame breath just across the island and like just in a big thing, and it's just like get out of the way, he's gonna kill you. So for me, that's been super cool, personally, but I don't know if it's like a drastic shift in the battle royale format or whatever. Man. So
Call of Duty's changed very drastically from when I stopped playing. So that sounds amazing. And yeah, my biggest thing with Fortnite too, when I tried to play, was it was like, you shoot a person once and then they turn into like a skyscraper, and you just be like, oh, okay, well, this is a thing. Mm-hmm. So I maybe I should log back on and just try the no build mode, because I always like to go super hipster on people. I was in the early access of Fortnite, like way back in 2014, before it was like the unstoppable money making crossover machine. Yeah. And it was actually like a really interesting zombie game where you could like build forts, literally forts, and put traps in it, lure zombies in. It was really fascinating. So, yeah, I wonder. I think I might have to try the no build mode just to kind of see what it is there. So, I'm just thinking about whoever the mad person at Activision was just like, yo, let's put Godzilla in our games.
Like that's if you had told me like, hey, guess what crazy crossovers are coming this year in gaming? Godzilla and Call of Duty, not one I would have guessed. I just saw
no.
I play Smite some, which is like a little MOBA with like gods, like a third person MOBA thing. Slipknot, they're doing a crossover.
I saw that.
And I was just like, what?
Yeah, I saw that in one of the Discords I was in. Somebody posted this. I'm like, I'll take crossovers I didn't expect for 500, please. Like, that's
exactly.
That's wild. So.
I might have to re-download Smite.
Yeah,
just the trailer looks crazy, man. I was enough. It's like, okay, I might have to try this.
Wow.
So
what a time to be a gamer.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Like,
yeah, if you would have told me in high school that they'd be like, hey, they put Slipknot in a video game, I would have laughed at you. But now, who's laughing? Slipknot probably for all the money they gave him. So
probably right.
That's very cool. Yeah. As for me, if you've listened to the show before, I'm still plowing away at Three Houses. My second playthrough on that. Doing that for a show coming up later in June.
Yeah. Which color did you go with, or which house? I don't remember the house name, so the color is the only thing that's going to matter to me.
So I finished. I played it through once before, so this is my second playthrough of all three. So I did Black Eagle first, and then Blue Lions, and now I'm finishing up with Golden Deer.
Okay.
So yeah, man, it's I always complain about like I don't have enough time to play video games. I'm literally playing one of the longest games ever to exist. So, but yeah, I mean, I've spoken enough about that. It's fantastic. If you know what it is, it's Fire Emblem. I guess I'm getting old in my age because I'm sitting here complaining like, well, this isn't like the Fire Emblems on the Game Boy Advance that I like. So
weird.
But, yeah, weird. But hey, it's Fire Emblem. It's fantastic. I've played like literally every single one since I came over, so I don't have to sing its praises too much.
I recently learned about a game that's similar to Fire Emblem but without all the bullcrap. Have you ever heard about that?
It would happen to be Advance Wars because if that's the case, then
that's what it's called. Yeah, it's
exactly.
Yeah,
that sounds really familiar. I'm getting a very strange sense of deja vu. It's very weird. So, yeah, I will be getting that when it comes out, 100%. But yeah, I've been playing that, and then I watched the Monster Hunter event the other day, and I've just been diving more back into that to get ready for Sunday.
Deja vu.
Yeah, right. It's inescapable. So
just go ahead and leave the call right now.
Just mute. I'll be back in 10 minutes. But I've just been trying to finish up some of my weapon trees, get some armor, get some jewels that I'm missing. Just trying to optimize my builds as much as I can for when whatever they're gonna throw at us, the Sunbreak comes out. So just been doing that, doing a couple hunts a night, trying to remember how to play after taking a couple months off. So that's pretty much it. And then I'm gearing up to start my playthroughs for my new series of Kingdom Hearts. So that'll be starting in a couple weeks, and that's gonna be, there aren't words to describe it. That's going to be insanity for sure. I'm going to need probably some form of counseling after I finish doing all that. So try and piece that together. But now
are you playing through like just the mainline ones that have been on like PlayStation? Or are you playing through like the random like 3DS or like PSP games or whatever?
We're playing all of them.
Mobile games.
So luckily they did the smart thing. Well, not smart because they obviously cash grab, but they put all of them or most of them you can experience on the PlayStation 4 now in the various collections they've released. Thankfully, some of the games they just delegated to, we're not going to bother porting this. Just here's all the cutscenes, watch them. So, but I do have access to all of those games.
Yeah.
The only things I don't really have access to now are the now shut down mobile game, and that's really it. But I played that long enough. I can just, there's a movie about it, so I'm not too worried about it. I did find out, and this is, I don't know if I'm going to try and hunt this down or not, but I did find out that there is, back in like 2004, 2005, Verizon used to have this thing on their phones called VCast, which is like where you used to play their games. So there was a Kingdom Hearts VCast game that is like super rare to find that since VCast is now defunct, you can't find it. So now I'm like, man, I already committed to playing them all. I have to find this weird VCast game and figure out what's going on with it now. So
it probably has very important lore on it that's like essential to understanding the story.
100% does. And I'm like, well, let me just see if I can go on eBay and find a phone with Kingdom Hearts VCast on it. And I guarantee it's going to be like $10,000 probably.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, hey, the Sony Ericsson doesn't work, but it still runs this Kingdom Hearts game or whatever. So
wow.
This is going to be a deep rabbit hole. But listen, we're not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about you guys, if that's okay with you.
I guess.
Yeah.
Wait, what is this? You didn't tell us that.
This is a sting operation. This is
Next question.
Gotcha journalism. Yeah. No answer. Just politic all the questions. It's fine. Just dance around them. So. So I just wanted to talk to you guys. You guys host your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers, which is an awesome show. Started around the time that I started Unlockables, so I feel like we're kind of like kindred spirits. It's kind of cool. And so I just kind of wanted to ask you guys if you could just fill me in a little bit about the origins of that show. I know you guys had a podcast prior to this that you guys decided to jump in and do this instead. So I'm just kind of wondering about what's the origin story there.
How you want to do this, Andrew? You want me to go and you fill in the gaps, or vice versa?
Or we can do it like one of those movies where you see the same story from different perspectives. Yeah, why don't you take it away, and then I'll jump in where I feel like I should.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, we had a show called Level Playing Field that Andrew and a couple of our other buddies started, and then shortly after that started, COVID hit, and so everything moved online anyway, and people were in different states and stuff, and so it was easy for me to kind of slot in there as well and be a part of it, because I was a listener, and then I would, like Andrew and I would kind of talk shop about like, oh, well, what if you did this, or what if you changed that?
I mean, we had you on before COVID for sure. Like,
there were a couple of
anytime you were local, we're like, hey, you want to come on the podcast? Because Level Playing Field was just like for 100% just us having fun. So it'd be like as many of us as we had microphones for sitting around a table, just goofing off, and like then I would try to make something listenable out of it in post, and we would just throw it up there. And so like that was very much like getting our feet wet in the experimental thing. But yeah, definitely once Dylan wasn't as local, and then another guy who was there that when we started it, Joe, he moved away, and this was all kind of like a little bit before COVID. We were definitely looking into how do we do this remotely so we can keep this band of characters together,
right?
You know? And we experimented with like Discord bots and, you know, all sorts of different things, and eventually kind of figured it out. And then when COVID did hit, all of a sudden you really saw the rise of like your Zencasters and Squadcasts, and Zoom really stepped up their game, and Discord stepped up their game a lot with what they were offering. And so that definitely helped. But back at it, Dylan.
Yeah. So we did that. We did that for 100 episodes, I believe.
Plus, a few bonus ones here and there. I think it was probably close to 110 total.
Yeah, so
that's a good amount.
All said and done, what, like 2 to 3 years, somewhere in that range.
2 years of like posting episodes, probably about 3 years of like from buying microphones to wrapping up kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. And so at that point, like life was getting busy for all of us. Stuff was happening. Like Andrew was going back to school. I was getting busy with school.
level playing field grew too fast. We started trying to do a Patreon, doing bonus content, trying to be like on top of the weekly news. So I was only giving myself a couple days turnaround to edit. So it's just like there were so many things kind of culminating all at once.
Yeah, like I think our biggest lesson taking away from that was just kind of like you don't have to do everything. Like you can have a much more focused vision on what you're doing for each little bit of it, and slowly kind of add in things as you want, versus we were just kind of like, we'd have an idea and be like, hey, what if we did this, and we just do it, and then it was like, oh man, like now we're doing so much we can't keep up with it. And so it got busy, and so at a certain point we kind of just talked about it, and we decided to go on like a little bit of a hiatus, and kind of indefinitely, or kind of go on an indefinite break sort of thing. And so about a month into that, Andrew and I were kind of already feeling that creative itch a little bit of like, hey, I kind of want to like keep doing this, but like a different version of it, a more focused version of it. And so we kicked that around a bunch and kind of came up with the idea of Your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers and kind of what we wanted it to be. Because we both listened to a lot of gaming podcasts, just, between the two of us. And something that always kind of stuck out about those in our minds was like, those are cool for us, but it really kind of gives you only the perspective of people who are like big in the industry, like most of the time there are plenty of like smaller gaming podcasts like us and you, but those are not necessarily the ones that people start off listening to. A lot of times they'll start off with like IGN or Kind of Funny or something like that. And those are all, reviews and stuff given by people who get the game for free and who,
are friends with Troy Baker.
Yeah,
they exactly.
play video games for a living, and and so at times it really feels kind of out of touch with like what your average gamer is doing, and so we wanted to kind of come up with a show that kind of spotlighted your more average gamers, people who were into gaming, who maybe had a podcast or were streaming on Twitch or, something like that, but not somebody who was necessarily concerned with playing every huge release, not somebody who is, in the industry, friends with Phil Spencer or whatever, like just your regular average person, because in a way, a lot of times gaming can be kind of like almost stigmatized, or people are like, well, I don't feel like I'm a gamer because like I'm not playing the newest Call of Duty or whatever. And it's like, well, you're playing Animal Crossing, like that's still a game. That's still right. Like you're a gamer. We would love to talk to you about the things that you find cool. So that was kind of the idea of the show, and we kind of spun out everything else from there.
I think it's a fantastic idea. Just one thing, if dear listener, if you happen to stumble across this, if you are friends with Phil Spencer or Troy Baker, just if you pass along, hey, we'd like to talk to him, just bring him over.
Yes.
Sorry, just shameless shilling.
Yeah, we're not saying that like if those guys wanted to come on our show, we would tell them no, but we definitely
too popular.
we wanted to start kind of from like a ground level. So like, there's a lot of cool people, and you can hear interviews with a few of them so far that we've had on our show, like for you, for example, but like I think of Katie, who plays flute music of like, video game music that she takes and kind of reworks and makes into like a flute song, and that's like super cool and unique and original. And so being able to have her on the show and talk to her about why she does it and what made her want to do it and that kind of thing is I think that's really cool. And that's the main focus of what we wanted to do with this content, was kind of interview and talk to cool people in like that community level of like your average gamers. And then we, like Dylan was saying, we wanted to have more intention and focus with this content. And so like YouTube videos serve a purpose, podcast serves a purpose, the streams serve a purpose. And so they're all kind of, they're doing their own thing. They're not stepping on each other's toes necessarily. Sometimes they complement each other, but it's all very intentional, and it's also all laid out in a way where it's like we have ample time to make it to the level of quality that we want to make it without feeling like we're overwhelmed or rushing to get something out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great take too. And it's something too, I'm sure you guys have discovered, because I know I've discovered, certainly doing this show, is that when you talk to those smaller people that are at like the community level, not quite at the industry level, they tend to just have more interesting stories and interesting things to say than just, and I'm by no means like knocking your podcast that like wants to recap the news or wants to, cover games or whatever it is. 'Cause I think those are necessary and those serve a purpose. And there are certainly a lot of them, but that to me is one of the things you guys highlighted. It's like to try and stay on top of all that stuff. It kind of creates like a pressure to be like, hey, stuff's happening. Like we need to talk about it. We need to put it out now. It needs to be in the algorithm. And that's kind of where I was at with like side questing in my project before that. Blame it on the lag. It was like, we wanted to talk like every time things were happening. It's just like, okay, like what are we doing here? 'Cause it's like, it's just creating stress. It's not really gaining any traction. Like, what are we doing? And that's similar to you guys. When I started this show, I wanted to take a more like focused approach and really talk to like the people that are like playing these games and aren't like the shilling out for the industry or giving every game an 8 out of 10. So that's great. So a follow-up question to that, and you guys have already kind of touched on it too. When you guys were doing Level Playing Field, were there any kind of, when you were forming your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers, this idea, were there any lessons or things that doing 100 episodes of a podcast is an incredible achievement? I don't think between the 4 podcasts I tried to do, I've totaled 100 episodes. So that's incredible. Did you take anything away from that experience that you kind of brought to doing this new experience that has helped you along the way?
Yeah. Like I said, Level Playing Field very much started as just, I was just getting into gaming podcasts and I thought, you know what? I want to do that. I want to try it. And so, I mean, the first time we sat down at microphones, we didn't know how to get 3 separate mics into Audacity. Like it was a bunch of us collectively Googling, like, how do we do this? And so that's where it started. And literally the name was picked that night right before we hit record on the mic. And we had the choice between two names. And as soon as we hit record, I just went with that one. And so it's stuck. And so I learned a lot going through that, just about podcasting, about mics, about audio, about editing, about, structuring, about yelling at people to get closer to their mic or stop hitting the table or things like that. But then obviously, like we've touched on already, we threw a lot of stuff at the wall with Level Playing Field just to kind of see what would stick. And so with this show, I kind of feel like those 100 episodes of that show led into this really well, where I feel like when we launched Your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers and we had 3 episodes right out of the gate and we had YouTube videos right out of the gate and we had our first stream planned that week, like that was all because of Level Playing Field. We knew what we wanted to do with launch. We had the graphics made. We had the stuff made. We had the promotions ready to go. We had the content ready to go. We had an interview. We had an episode that was like just a topic with just us. And then we had a game specific like review episode, which are kind of like the 3 things we wanted the podcast to focus on. And like those were going to be our focus. And I think that none of that would have happened without Level Playing Field. Like you can't do 100 episodes consistently of a show and not take something away just from, technical things like, what kind of mic do I want to use? But also just, I feel way more comfortable as a host and as like talking to strangers, interviewing them, going into Your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers than I did on Level Playing Field. Like if you go back and listen to episode 1 of Level Playing Field, it's going to sound dramatically different than if you listen to episode 1 of Your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers, just because, at a very base level, it's just practice, practice doing anything will make you better at it. And so, and then all the like technical behind the scenes stuff of, we had 5 people kind of consistently on that show. And that's a lot for the editor and for like just trying to organize and wrangle and like, just make things happen. So with this show, the other 3 co-hosts of Level Playing Field, they've all been on Your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers already, and they'll probably be on again, but it's like now they're not committed to a weekly thing. They can come and talk when they want to. They can be part of our content if they want to. If not, no big deal. And it's, the base level to do an episode is just me and Dylan have to hop on the mics, and that's not nearly as like stressful or as much work as what Level Playing Field had grown into. But like, I love that show. I have fond memories. I only look back on it fondly. It was definitely a learning experience, but for sure, like I would recommend people go listen to. I think it really hit its stride probably in like, the 30s episode wise, but we had a lot of fun. I mean, we carried over the like trivia game thing that we do on Your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers. We did that on Level Playing Field, and because we always had enough people. And so that was a lot of fun, and we wanted to bring that forward because it was something we really liked. There were a lot of segments on that show that we tried that we didn't carry forward because, we tried them. They didn't really work for us, or they didn't, pan out like we had hoped or wanted them to. And so, we just left them behind.
No, first of all, I got to say, kudos to you guys, because even having to edit and match up one other person's waveform is very stressful. So to do it with 5 people, that's very impressive. So
I performed surgery on multiple occasions. There were times when so-and-so's track stopped recording halfway through and then they restarted it, or
oh man,
somebody realized they weren't recording and we had to stitch something together. Or I mean, like when you have 5 people, it's a lot to make sure that everything goes off without a hitch. And spoiler alert, it doesn't go off without a hitch.
No.
But it really provides you, though, like you said, with that base level knowledge of, okay, I know how to do this now. And I think really that's half the battle. I certainly know that my early projects were kind of the same thing. It was, how do I do this? How do I get to a sound where I like how it sounds, which is something I tell people too. They're like, well, how did you figure out like the optimal sound? It's like, well, everybody likes how things sound differently. So if it sounds good to you, just that it's fine. Put it out, whatever. As long as you are good at what you do, like I'll listen to it even so. But, I don't know. Again, I went off on a tangent rambling and I don't know where I was going with it, but, yeah, to have that like baseline knowledge and then coming into like a new project where it's like, okay, we know how to do this now. Like it's relatively figured out. So now we can go and focus on the actual content, which is the good stuff. So
yeah, exactly. I think about it like starting a band where it's like, you start a first band where no one really knows how to play their instruments and no one's ever done that before. And so you're just kind of like messing around and learning a bunch, and then you give it a couple of years and then you go and you start a different band, and it's like, okay, now I know how to play this instrument. Now I know how to do this. Now I know how to play with other people. Now I know how to, maybe we know how to like talk to people about booking shows or whatever. So it's the same. I liken it to that for us, where it's like, okay, we gave it like 2 solid years of like learning how to do everything. And now we've got it like, that knowledge is still there. All that practice from doing 100 episodes is still there. And so we can kind of just take it forward with us.
I think that's a great analogy. Yeah. My cousin had started probably 4 or 5 bands over the 10 years that he's been playing music. And now this latest one is finally a culmination of everything that he's learned, and they're finally hitting their stride. So yeah, that's a very, very accurate analogy there. So, so I wanted to ask you guys, in your experience doing the podcast, obviously this one and Level Playing Field, you can draw from across both those experiences. Is there anything you've kind of learned about your tastes in games in general? Or anything that's kind of like changed your opinions, or you've kind of had a different look at it since you've kind of started doing the podcast, talking to other people and just kind of being in it every week?
I feel like I talked a lot on the last one. I feel like Dylan's more in tune with has been more in tune with the kind of games he likes longer than me, and has like been more aware of that. So I'm gonna let him go first, and then I'll share mine.
So one of the episodes actually that we did on Level Playing Field was about we did kind of like a personality test of your gaming interests and your gaming like profile or whatever. And so that was already something that I was kind of just like interested in general, because I was like, why do I like these games that I like? But I think that definitely made us all kind of think a little bit about like, what when I go look for a game, like what am I looking for? And like Andrew said, I think he and I for sure had been kind of like listening to other gaming podcasts. We had kind of figured out like, oh, okay, this game sounds like one that I might want to check out, or this one is maybe something I don't want to check out, or am not going to be that into. And so, I definitely kind of sat down and was like, okay, when I go to a game, I really like to be able to explore and learn about a world and a lore, and I like to go in like I'm not I don't mind combat. I like combat in a lot of games, but I don't need there to be combat in a game. I'm happy to have long extended periods with no combat. I'm not going in with like any sort of a competitive stint in anything. I'm just trying to like go in and have some fun, kind of immersing myself in the world. And so I think that was something that I kind of took away, and just kind of the reminder that like a lot of the stuff that I get into and play is not necessarily the newest stuff. Like occasionally there will be some new things that I enjoy that I like. I like Elden Ring, and that came out, and Andrew and I both played that. Well, we set our time zone to New Zealand so that we could play it, like 16 hours early or whatever. And so like we were super into that game. And we've been into other like recent releases and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff that I get into that's like years and years old and have a lot of fun with. And I guess that's something else that I feel like I knew, but was kind of reinforced in our show with Level Playing Field, is like, I like to be able to go and experience whatever game I want to experience when I want to experience it, without having to feel like I'm pressured to beat it in any sort of certain time frame, or like that I've got to like play it because it's the new thing and we've got to record an episode on it in 2 weeks, or it's going to be like pointless, So I feel like that's kind of what I've learned.
Yeah. So for me, I kind of went on a bit of a up and down type thing, where when I was just playing games from childhood to young adult, it was kind of like whatever I thought looked cool. And I didn't really think much beyond that. Well, then when I started getting into like the industry podcasts and like listening to your Kind of Funnies and IGNs and stuff like that, and I wanted to start podcasting, then I wanted to play everything that was like in the zeitgeist. And so I kind of went through this phase where it was like, if it was big, if it was being talked about, if it was this cool new indie game that everyone was talking about, I wanted to try it because I was trying to broaden my horizons a little bit and like kind of find my taste. B, I wanted to talk about it on the show. I wanted to make content out of it. And then C, like I was just caught up in like, this was all new to me, getting on this like deeper industry level of what was going on. Then towards the end of Level Playing Field, probably, and definitely going into this show, I realized that there are types of games and games that I don't like, and that's okay. Like, I don't have to, like, I will never beat Celeste, probably. Mm-hmm. That's a great game that people talk about and they say is amazing, and like the industry loves it, falls all over themselves about it. But it's just not my cup of tea. I like Animal Crossing up to a certain extent, but like I'm not going to sit around and only play cozy games, So like there's definitely genres and games that are not my cup of tea, and like I've gotten to the point now where it's like I'm okay with that. I don't need to play those just because everyone's talking about them. And like similar to Dylan, if I do play them, I don't need to play them day one. I can wait and pick them up later. And so I've kind of gotten to the point where I'm a little bit more choosy with what I play and when I play. And that's also not to say that, we're not going to pick up bigger releases and try them out if it's something that speaks to us. And it's also not to say that the podcast did not help me broaden my horizons, because like I look back on Hades as a good example, where that was not my type of game, not my style of game, not necessarily my genre. And everyone was talking about how good it was just in the industry, but also like our group of friends and like the people on the podcast. And we just kind of had Dylan and I were sitting there like, okay, we need to do an episode. Hades is pretty cheap. Everyone keeps saying it's good. You and I, we could pick it up on Switch. We could play it. We'll do an episode on that. And then that year, that was our game of the year for Level Playing Field collectively. Like we all loved that game. All 5 of us on that show loved it, and loved it, I think, probably for different reasons.
Yeah.
And so definitely the experience of podcasting and like kind of exploring gaming on like a deeper level than I did just, growing up and playing games has helped me broaden my horizons and realize what it is I like and what it is I don't really like, and maybe why that is. But I definitely kind of went through like this up and down thing where it was like, I don't really pay attention. Now I want to like everything. Okay, now I realize there's stuff that I don't like. Okay, now also it's okay that I don't like these things. I don't have to like everything just because it's popular.
Yeah.
I can relate to that because I'm kind of on that same roller coaster ride with you this year, most recently too. I came to Hades the same way. I came absolutely hating roguelike games. I didn't like them. I played Enter the Gungeon. After a couple runs, I'm like, this is stupid. I hate this.
No, the industry says that's good. You have to like it.
I know, exactly. And then, so yeah, Hades comes out and we're in the middle. It was my game of the year as well. And having despise roguelike games, and Hades comes along. There's so much buzz about it. And I was like, trying not to give in. I'm like, I don't like roguelites. You don't have to buy it. But there's so much buzz. I'm like, all right, let me give it a chance. Gave it a chance and absolutely fell in love with it. And so then I kind of entered this spiral where I was like, well, I have to try and play everything that everyone says that they love because it obviously must be really good. And in like this group of podcasters that we all associate with on Twitter, and everyone's like playing different games and beating so many games. And I'm like, I have to play all these games. I have to keep up and beat so many games, and I have to do all these things. And finally where it broke for me was earlier this year in February when I picked up Sifu when it came out and played Sifu. I thought it was fun, but I put it back down and I never finished it just because I was like, I didn't fully enjoy it. And then it was at that point, and then Elden Ring came out a couple weeks later where I was literally on the page to buy Elden Ring. And I'm like, well, you've picked up and put down so many Souls games before. It's not that you don't like them. You just haven't finished any of them. Are you really going to give in and buy Elden Ring right now just because it's the current hype thing? You don't need to play it right now. It's fine. Like, and I pulled myself back. I'm like, you don't have to be part of the hype conversation. Like, it's okay to play it later. You have to. And that's when I was on a tear the first 4 months of this year, just beating so many games, more games than I beat. I beat more games in the first 4 months of this year than I beat all last year. And I was like, you need to pull back and stop. Like, this is getting out of hand. So that's when I picked up Fire Emblem, doing a second playthrough. That's like a 90+ hour game if you do all the routes. And I'm just like saying, it's okay. I don't have to beat as many games as other people. I don't have to experience everything that everyone else is experiencing. Like, I can pull back and just play the things I love. And I know more now after having gone through that debacle with Sifu and almost buying Elden Ring of what I like more. And it's okay to play just what I like. So
And something that we learned too, I think, from our previous experience was that when we looked at the stats of of podcasts, almost without fail, the like highest downloads, the highest engagement, the highest interactions, all that kind of stuff was on the episodes that were about like a specific video game and not current games. Like, obviously an Elden Ring episode is going to do, great, but those have legs. Those have, and so we were like, oh, okay, so we don't need to like jump on this new game just because it's fresh and new. Like, we can take our time, we can enjoy it. We can talk about a game that we played, years ago or that, came out years ago that we're just now playing, and put that episode out, because when people are looking for a new podcast, they're going to type in, like, oh, well, let me see what they thought of Control, or let me see what they thought of Shadow of War, or, whatever. And they're going to listen to that episode for us anyway. And so it's like, oh, okay, cool. So we'll just worry about that. We don't feel obligated to play the big, fresh, new stuff anymore, unless we just want to, because that's what, like, Elden Ring was an easy one because we both are huge Soul fans. Right. And so we were like, well, yeah, we're going to play that and talk about it because we want to talk about it, rather than feeling like we had to talk about it,
Yeah, we did like a Last of Us episode on our last show years after that game came out, and it was one of our top 5 episodes for a long time. And it's just because when people find a new podcast, they look for games that they enjoy. And so, it doesn't really matter when you recorded. Our Animal Crossing was our top downloaded episode for a long time. And we recorded that. It came out almost a month after the game came out. And it was like our first impressions having played it for like 5 hours. And like, we hadn't even really seen everything that game had to offer, but it was just, that was just how we framed it. And so that was one of the reasons we wanted to frame this show the way we did, where it's like, it's the average gamer's perspective. So like, I'm going to play Horizon Forbidden West at some point. I enjoyed the first one, but I didn't have to buy it right at launch and do an episode on it the week after and be caught up with every other podcast that did it. And I mean, gaming is one of those interesting, maybe more so than a lot of hobbies, where if you wait, it pays off, because I guarantee that you're going to get that game for a lot cheaper. It's going to be in a better state than it was at launch because they've patched a bunch of stuff and maybe added content. And then not only that, but like it could go to Game Pass. You could get it like completely free. It could go to PlayStation Plus or whatever. Yeah. So like patience pays off. And the only reason really that people buy stuff the day it comes out is because of the like crazy hype cycle that is so intense in gaming for some reason. And I think it's intense for a lot of media and like franchises that people love. Like how many people went out and saw Doctor Strange the first night that it opened, obviously, but like in gaming, I mean,
I'm part of the problem. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But like a movie ticket costs you what, and versus a video game that comes out at $60-$70 this time next year could be 20.
Yeah.
And absolutely. So, if you can hold off on that just feeling of I have to be part of the conversation, then I mean, you ultimately get a better experience for less of a cost, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, and I think you bring up a good point too of, like when we were talking about like we want this to be about more of an average gamer's perspective. Most average gamers, I would be willing to bet that like 90% of the games that they play are games that are picked up like on sale years after release, and they may occasionally like get in on the zeitgeist of, a big hyped up release, like occasionally a big video game will cross over into like mainstream media, and they, Animal Crossing, for example, or Elden Ring, for example, I think both of those made it into the mainstream media for more average people to hear about. But, like for every game like that, there's like a Persona 5 or, a Horizon Forbidden West that doesn't quite make it into the mainstream, and you see it on sale with all the DLC and like the complete gold edition or whatever 2 years after the fact, and you pick it up and you play it and you have a great time. Like if you want to play The Witcher 3 right now, you can get the complete edition for like $10 on sale, and if you aren't a super hardcore gamer, you probably haven't had a bunch of the big stuff spoiled for you either, unlike movies where it's like, if you don't see the movie like within the first week or two and you pay attention at all on social media, it's going to be spoiled for you. So
exactly.
I do want to play The Witcher, Dylan. I'm glad you brought that up. I think I may have to do that here pretty soon.
Man, I'm just thinking about the massive amount of content that The Witcher 3 is, and to get it at $10 is kind of mind boggling for the amount of experience that you get from that. That's insane. Man, what a crazy time we live in. So, so obviously doing 100 plus shows now, your new endeavor, what are some of your guys' favorite experiences doing the podcast so far? Do you have any that kind of stick out, kind of broad ones?
I think like occasionally, like some of the big ones that stick out to me are when we would do like a topic that everybody was super invested in and would have good discussions around, or learn something around. So, some of our discussions about, like I really liked the like gaming motivations profile ones. I really liked, I think at one point we talked about like some of our like first memories of games and that sort of thing. Or just, like with 5 people that are all friends, getting in there and like having some sort of random inside joke or whatever that spawns. We were playing one of our ending show games, and like just some of the answers that we would throw out there have kind of been memed within our little group, our community for,
Go ahead and say it. Just go ahead and say which one you're talking about and that it's our most viewed YouTube video from that project.
Well, I know there was like a sexy Pokemon
that's the one. Yep, that's it. Yep.
Sexy Pokemon. It was my week to put together a game.
That's incredible.
And
it's so yes.
I put together like a Family Feud-esque game, which they all complain about because they always disagree with the rankings because they don't understand how Family Feud works. And like as a joke, little last one, I threw in like sexiest Pokemon, and they were crazy about it. Joe specifically,
very much disturbed us. It's good, definitely a good closing game to go listen to if you do go back and check out the Level Playing Field content catalog over there for sure.
I think that's okay because just given the state of the fan art community, I'm sure it's more tame than anything that anybody has drawn on the internet.
No, we were all reacting to it as like, oh wow, this is this crazy thing, but it's like, no, the people that are actually into that are like way deeper into it than we ever touched. Right. But yeah,
don't Google Sonic's feet, whatever you do.
Yeah,
go to a dark place.
No, for sure. I think that some of my favorite experiences, I agree with Dylan. Whenever we had like a topic where like everybody would engage, because that was one of the struggles with 5 people, is like everyone being able to contribute their voice equally to the conversation sometimes was a bit of a struggle. And so like a lot of those things definitely, when we've just hit that kind of stride where everybody was engaged or whatever. But I think, and it's probably apparent based on what we're doing with the Friendly Neighborhood Gamers, and also it is one of my favorite things with this show is just I really enjoy the interviews.
Yeah.
I like having people on. I like meeting new people like yourself and like building those relationships and those, kind of those friendships and that community. And I think it's super fascinating because we have kind of like a general outline of questions that we use, and then we'll veer off, like most interviews do. We'll veer off if we hit like an interesting tangent or like something specific to that person and their content. But it's like, I think it's really cool to see how people tackle these questions differently based on what they're doing or what their perspective is or what their passion is or what the content they're trying to create is. And I've really enjoyed that quite a bit. And then outside of that, like kind of selfishly, is something that I've really appreciated and really enjoyed about especially this new project is just like the day we launched, I think you were one of them, Eric, but just like I got messages and like comments and stuff from people that I hadn't necessarily actually ever engaged with on our old show, just being like, hey, congrats on launching. Love the first episode. This is great. That kind of stuff. And just like getting that positive feedback on this show and like seeing the reviews come in and like seeing messages and comments and stuff like that. And having new people in our Discord and our community that we didn't have before. Like all of that kind of stuff, I think is really cool and super rewarding to get that positive feedback. And even if it's just a handful of people or, if it were, ultimately if it was hundreds of people or whatever, that would be, that would be great too. But like, just, I remember waking up the day we launched and then like looking at my phone and just seeing all the notifications I had and be like, wait, like people actually like know we launched.
Yeah.
And like getting like messages and stuff like that. And I was like, this is really cool. It really makes me feel good. It makes us, that's not ultimately the reason why we're doing this, but it's definitely some really awesome positive reinforcement.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had a chance too to like, just in doing this, like in general, it seems the podcast community is a very like kind of collaborative, welcoming community, at least in a lot of our experience. And so, like we during Level Playing Field would occasionally like reach out and like talk and collaborate with other shows. And, some of those collaborations have become, like these cool long-term relationships where, like for the past couple of years, we've done like a little Christmas special with a few other shows. And, it's our little podcast family almost, like Game of Groans with Emily Bateman or like Super Bracket Bros with Jay and Eli, and Geek Ketchup with Chris and not Eric, Chris and Kyle. So it's been fun getting to know like people who are also like into podcasting and into like into gaming and that sort of thing, but also like into the podcasting side of it too, because that's kind of like a nice little subsection, little subgroup. That's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is crazy, and I mentioned this on your guys' show. Just the internet. I take a pretty pessimistic approach to the internet. That's a pretty bleak and unhelpful place.
Yes,
but
I agree.
For whatever reason, people. I don't know if it's podcasting specifically or what it is, but all of those people are very nice. Are willing to offer help or suggestions if you ask. And be like, hey, like what EQ settings do you use, or how do you like what is your editing method, and just kind of talk shop with you. And even willing to be like, hey, come on the show, and they're willing to do it. And that's been fascinating. I didn't think that would be the case, because I just figured getting people to open up to strangers, especially growing up, we're warned like, hey, don't talk to strangers, don't go in the van or whatever, you're not supposed to do that. but that's been a very interesting thing for sure. So so I kind of want to get. I shared on your guys' show a little bit of the scoop of some stuff coming up for my show. So I wanted to know if I could maybe get the return scoop and see if you guys had any kind of cool ideas or anything coming up in the works that maybe you could just give us a little teaser about.
Well, I'm going to play every single Kingdom Hearts game.
You too?
No, definitely not. Future plans for...
Call me if you decide to do that. I'll be on every episode.
we'll go through it together. We'll tackle them together to save our collective sanity.
Everybody please come visit us in wherever they send us to afterwards. Yes, the psych ward, please.
But effing gamers. Ultimately, it's just kind of like incremental improvement at this point. Like we've already increased our podcast from bi-weekly to weekly. Like we just hit a point where it was like, okay, this isn't too stressful, too demanding. Like I feel like I can do more. I want to interview more people. I want to be able to talk about more games and not have like our content planned out for the next 2 years kind of thing. So we definitely have that has recently happened. We've kicked around the idea of streaming a little bit more often. Like we definitely have our weekly Friday night streams that we do together most of the time, but we both talked or kicked around like, I'm thinking about maybe streaming this game and going through it like, solo on a different night, and Dylan's talked about doing things like that. So like nothing in concrete there, but we definitely like the idea of doing a little bit more of that. Yeah. I mean, like ultimately we want this thing to just keep growing and keep gaining momentum and being what it is, but just being refined over time. And, ultimately, like if it started bringing in income, that would be fantastic, but that's not necessarily our goal. As far as like, having any kind of content or like, Kingdom Hearts series type thing, like we don't really have anything like that planned currently.
Well, you don't.
But okay, Dylan does.
Yeah. So I mean, I am in I finished a bunch of stuff for school, so I am going to be doing the stream of XCOM 2 that has been years in the making, of like creating people from like the community and guests that we've had on the podcast and stuff in the game and letting them die with us.
That's very cool.
As we play through. So I am doing that now.
Just know if you do that, and if you happen to name someone after me, I will die. I have died in everything that anybody has named me in ever. Nuzlocke, Oregon Trail, like everything. I have died. I have not survived. So just to warn you.
That sounds like a challenge, Dylan.
Yeah, so
keep me alive.
We are going to do that, and I'm going to try to put up like a video of like customization options on our Discord, so that anybody who is in our community that wants to get into the game can be like, I want these options for my character, and I can go in and make them.
That's cool.
And
so Eric, get in our Discord.
And then
I honestly didn't know you guys had Discord, which I should probably, because you mention it every episode, and I probably should have known that. I will join immediately after this episode.
Yeah, awesome. And I think
no pressure.
This summer, we'll both be in the same place for at least a little bit.
Oh yeah,
and so there will hopefully be some like maybe in-person content or in-person like videos or streams or something.
That's a good point.
Because we've kicked around like ideas of what we want to do, like get together with like our friend group and like have like a Mario Party drinking game or something like that, and kind of like go through and stream that or get a video of it or something. But because we're all in different places, we haven't had the opportunity to do that, and now we're all kind of reconverging into the same place, at least for a little bit. And so hopefully we can do something like that too. I think our plan is that whether or not we make it happen, we'll that's still at least a month or two off, but we'll see.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten that we had talked about that back when we started this thing, because it seemed so far away. But now we're here on the doorstep. Yeah, for sure. We want to do some kind of fun, more silly kind of content when we're together in person. We had a few episodes on our last show where we did like a never have I ever, and we did like the 50 video game questions, where it was literally just like sit around a table, have a few drinks, and this like answer these ridiculous questions. And for a while, those were some of our most popular episodes. They ended up like moving kind of to the middle of the pack, but still they did pretty well, and we definitely enjoyed making them. So we kind of want to like bring that kind of energy to this show at some point, or to this content, at some point.
Well, please do that, and I look forward to hearing it when you do. I think that would be absolutely great. I look forward to dying in your XCOM playthrough,
yes.
Because that is just what happens. So it is inevitable. Something
especially when Dylan's playing.
I was a little rusty on the first episode of it, or the first like stream of it. So we lost one person, and then we lost, but then like Doctor Strange like rewound time a little bit and found a different path where Andrew didn't die in the first stream.
There you go.
So
that's perfectly fine. So, all right, cool. Guys, thank you so much for providing me a little bit of insight to your show. It's a fantastic show. If you're listening to this show, there's no reason you shouldn't be listening to your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers. Do it or else. Threaten my listeners. No, you really should do it. I highly recommend it. So
that threat comes from Eric alone. Just want to say that.
I listen. I get very threatening when I get passionate. It's something I just can't help it. So. Permit me to, I'd like to pivot to not so much talking about the show, but talking about you guys and you specifically. So I just want to know a bit about both of you guys. Where did kind of your journey with games and gaming begin? Where did it all start?
Dylan started further back, so
the question, the question.
Yeah. So let's see. Growing up, I didn't really have like consoles for a while, and so I, started off playing, some computer games just on my like computer, just like random, like NHL 99. I think I was playing, and like some robot arena type of game, and
awesome,
just like that kind of stuff. Probably some sort of like RTS was like a lot of the like initial stuff when I was just like probably 7, 8, 9, like 10, that range. And there was a lot too of just like, playing video games at friends' houses, like, Smash Brothers or Mario Kart or, whatever. Played a lot of Halo at one of my buddies' houses across the street because he had Halo, and so we would go over there and just play the original Halo, like play through that campaign, play multiplayer, all that kind of stuff. And then when I was about 12 or so, I got a GameCube, and so that was really where it kind of picked up. Whereas, before then I had played some, like Knights of the Old Republic on the computer, or Age of Empires, or Majesty, that kind of stuff. But
I got to stop you right there. Just time out real quick, because I've not met another human being that's ever mentioned Majesty to me before.
We were the number one fan cast.
Dude.
Dude,
gosh. I'm sorry. Andrew, you played Majesty as well?
Oh yeah, like he just said, we talked about Majesty what felt like every other episode. I'm sorry, man.
It was so cool.
Good.
I love that game so much. Dude.
That was one of my earliest gaming memories too. And not just Majesty, but like the Majesty demo. So like I would play like the first like map over and over because that's all we had, and then eventually we got the full game, and it was like, holy crap, look at all of these other like characters and classes and
look at all the stuff I can
do. It's like this is overwhelming. Fantastic game.
It's one that I don't feel like has ever really been successfully like iterated and recreated. Like I think the closest I've ever managed to find is like RimWorld, or maybe like a Sims almost, but like nothing to that full extent that Majesty has, where it's just like you just kind of set stuff up and you don't control anybody. You just kind of are like, hey, I'd like you to go over here. How much money will it take for you to go here? Like
the most maddening part, it's like, please go where I need you to go. It's like, what if I give you a ton of gold to go over here?
Yes,
exactly.
That game was when I first like got like a PC that could actually play games, and I like first started dabbling in Steam.
Yeah.
That was like one of the first things I searched for, was like, they have Majesty in here, and they had the gold edition. I'm like, oh, that's no brainer.
I was also, I have it in my Steam library as well. Yeah. So I think what just happened was we just became best friends. Is that?
Yes.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
Such a
friendly, unlockable neighborhood gamers. Like,
yes. That might be a stream merge crossover our shows. Right there. Yeah. Right. Yes. Wow. I don't have words to describe how happy that makes me. I don't like, I've never even, I listen to so many podcasts, and like I haven't heard anybody talk about Majesty.
How many of our collective listeners do you think are going to like skip past this part? And how many of them are going to be like, oh my God, 3 other people that know what Majesty is?
I hope it's all of them, because I think everybody should play Majesty. It's that fantastic.
Do yourself a favor. It's only like $5 or $10 on Steam. Something. I think when it's on sale, it's like $2. Like buy it on Steam. I guarantee your computer could run it, because it's a game that came out in like 2001 or 2002 or something. Like you can do it.
There's no greater stress than just, you're trying to get your town up and going, and then just getting swarmed from all sides. You're just like, I can't do anything right now. Oh God, I love it. Okay. I'm sorry. Please continue. I had to go off on that tangent.
Yeah. So we're always happy to talk Majesty with somebody.
Excited.
But I was playing some games on the computer, but like not really a ton, just because like, PC gaming was not like for me a big thing back then. And so I got a Nintendo GameCube, played a bunch of stuff on that. Smash Brothers Melee, Paper Mario, Mario Kart, Mario Party, that sort of knockoff Final Fantasy Lord of the Rings game, a bunch of just random cool stuff. And eventually ended up with an Xbox, got super into Halo 2, Halo 3, the advent of online gaming, Battlefront 2, and then have basically been an Xbox fan for the rest of my time as a gamer.
The next 40 years.
Yeah. Immediately got like an Xbox 360, got a 360 when it came out, got an Xbox One, probably a couple of years after it came out, honestly. But like
wait till they smooth it over.
Well, that and just like I was in school at the time still, and like I watched the trailer for like the Master Chief Collection, The Witcher 3, and the reveal for like the new Star Wars Battlefront, and I was like, all right, yeah, I do need to go ahead and bite this bullet and get this this upgrade, because those are not coming to the 360. And so I went ahead and got that, and got a Series X, like managed to find one the year it came out.
Oh, nice.
And so I've just been kind of doing that. I've dabbled in other things. Like I was never really a big handheld gamer. I did get a 3DS eventually just to like try out some stuff. And then got a Switch to enjoy my time with that. And it's still one that I play, but not like a ton.
Got a PS4 to play Bloodborne.
Yeah, I bought a PS4 off of Andrew when he was upgrading so that I could play Bloodborne. But yeah, so my journey has been a long one, but I've just enjoyed my time with games. It's been mostly Xbox, so it's hard to talk me out of any sort of Xbox fandom.
Right.
What about you, Andrew?
He is the Xbox fanboy. For me, let's see. So I remember probably my first gaming memory is seeing like Super Mario World at a friend's house, and just like that music, the art style. That's still my favorite, like Mario art style. For me personally, my parents bought us Game Boy Colors when we were going on a long road trip, and I remember I had like a Looney Tunes game, maybe a few other games. So like these are really fuzzy memories. And then similar to Dylan, played video games at friends' houses, and then got a GameCube for Christmas one year with Pac-Man World 2 or some such nonsense, which was fun. I think I got like Mario Sunshine or something with it, like a Nintendo core game. And then I got Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And I remember just playing that like all Christmas morning and like the rest of my life. Like I'm still playing it. No, that game was so good at that age and in that era. And it felt like you got to take part in the epic battles in the movies, which like as an 11-year-old boy, that was all I really cared about in those movies.
One of the best licensed games ever.
So
hand
good.
Down.
Oh
so
my
good.
gosh, so good.
Oh.
So then from GameCube, I played video games at other people's houses again, and one of those people was Dylan. A lot of my kind of outside of Nintendo gaming happened with Dylan because he had Halo, he had Modern Warfare, he had games like that. So anytime our families would like get together, that was something that Dylan and I did, was just game. He mentioned that like Final Fantasy Lord of the Rings knockoff game, and like we played that a ton as kids. And then when I started working really young. I started working basically at around 14, 15, doing some like construction stuff and was making money. And so I bought myself an Xbox 360, and I bought Assassin's Creed 2, Grand Theft Auto 4, and Halo 3, but it was in Spanish. And so to this day, Assassin's Creed is like one of my favorite gaming series, and Grand Theft Auto, everybody loves Grand Theft Auto, and then Halo I never really clicked with until like Infinite I liked, but I think if that game had maybe been in English, I would have been a bigger fan of Halo.
I was to say you didn't play the rest of them in Spanish. You're just like, I have to commit, so
just like get into it. But no, so like that was kind of the big moment for me where it's like gaming just like expanded a ton, and I was old enough to get like the more popular games. I remember Red Dead Redemption was like a real big game for me. The way that game ends just like legitimately shocked me with like how it made me feel sad.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, video games aren't supposed to be sad. Like you're just supposed to like kick ass and take names.
Why am I feeling things?
And like when that game ended, like I was literally kind of just like pondering life, like what just happened to me.
Right.
And so that was kind of when it became like, okay, maybe gaming is just a little bit more than like power fantasies. But like gaming has always been there for me as like that way to unwind, that go-to hobby. Like I'll choose it over movies or TV shows or whatever. And I think it's also been like one of the core pillars of like Dylan and I's friendship. It's probably that and music, like through our teen years. I mean, we were playing Rock Band all the time. We were playing Modern Warfare 2. We were playing the Halo games, like Left 4 Dead 2. Like looking back at some of those like pinnacle multiplayer games that have come out throughout the years, Dylan and I played them together. And then if we weren't playing games together, we were playing games like, Shadow of Mordor or The Witcher 3, and we were talking about them. And so, yeah, that was kind of it, like growing up and going through it. And then when I became an adult and was like actually making like real money, I had the Xbox One. I went Xbox One over PS4 until Spider-Man came out, and then I had to buy a PS4. It was absolutely necessary and required. And so I bought that. That game was amazing. And now I have all the consoles and a PC that can play some games. And so like I'm fortunate enough where I can kind of pick and choose. And then once I kind of discovered like that industry level, like we've already kind of talked about, like, the podcasts and the deeper discussions about what games are and what they can be and all of that. Like now it's gone a little bit even deeper than just, a hobby that I really enjoy. But like looking back and kind of prepping for this show, and I mean, it's something that I've always kind of known, but like really kind of like jotting down some notes to like keep track of my thoughts, because I'm a dad and I'm getting old and like my brain just turns to mush. But I was like, I mean, really, when I look back, it's like gaming was definitely kind of that one of those core things that's like one of the things that's kept Dylan and I's friendship going throughout, because we met when we were like 9, 10, 11, kind of in that range. And then we've gone separate ways, come back, kind of whatever. Like he's gone to school, I've stayed here, I've gone to school, I've gotten married. We've done like separate things in life, which in years past, when the internet and things like that weren't so prevalent and your connectivity wasn't so easy, like that's how friendships end. You just kind of drift apart. But like gaming has been probably that one main thing that's definitely been like that core pillar, that core thing that keeps bringing us back. And obviously it's not the only thing we ever talk about. Like I mentioned music, obviously, and obviously we have like actual conversations outside of just our hobbies. But like it's so easy now to just like hit him up and be like, yo, you want to jump on some Bloodborne, or you want to play some Halo or whatever. And like neither of us are like really great at competitive games, so most of the time we're just kind of talking about like what's going on, what's happening. And so like gaming has been, I think, really important in that sense. And like I'm using Dylan as an example because like he's here, we're talking about our show. Like obviously the two of us are very passionate about gaming, but I mean, I played games with my brother when he was away. I played games with other people, and it's like it is kind of a cool connective tissue for relationships like that,
I would agree, especially when you have friends that play Majesty. 100%. That'll keep the friendships going strong. So
the three of us need to like figure out a way to do like a 3-way PvP Majesty.
There's got to be a mod. Somebody has to have modded that.
Yeah, but I think the main thing is just making sure that you can still play multiplayer.
So if it's still active. Yeah. Okay, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
This might be happening.
Some future content ideas kicking around.
Absolutely. I'm very much the same way too. Yeah, gaming is the thing. I have very close friends of mine from college that live very far away from me. It's really the only way that we're able to like do things together is through video games. So,
well, isn't your co-host on Side Questing like you met through gaming?
Yeah, I met him through gaming, and yeah, he lives on the East Coast, and I've never met him in real life, and that's pretty much the only way we've ever hung out is by playing video games. So, which is again, I never thought I would have like a quote unquote like internet friend, but
it's like the modern day pen pal.
It really is. It really is, and it's like I said, we talk growing up, like, hey, don't talk to strangers, but hey, talking to strangers has led me to meet some of the most like nicest, awesome people in my life. So
yeah, for sure.
I don't know. Not that I would ever tell my kids to talk to strangers, but just be smart about it.
Context is important.
Yes, just be smart about it. So it's not always easy. I always ask this question. Do you have a game, like a handful of games that you consider like your favorite all time, or that mean a lot to you?
Dylan?
Yeah. So obviously, one of the biggest games, if you've listened to the podcast that Erica did with us,
Slime Rancher. Slime Rancher is Dylan's favorite game of all time.
I've never even played it. But Monster Hunter World specifically, and Iceborne. And Monster Hunter in general, but I think every Monster Hunter fan is a little biased towards like their first Monster Hunter. And so that is definitely one of my overall like favorite games of all time. I would also throw The Witcher 3 in that list, because that is definitely one. I'm gonna steal that from Andrew before he can say it. And then I haven't quite decided where my FromSoft stuff shakes out, so I'm just going to throw in like just FromSoft games in general. Minus
what a cop out! What?
It's a battle between Elden Ring and Bloodborne, but I don't know. I haven't figured out exactly where those ones kind of shake out. But those ones are like some of the more recent ones. But like reaching back, games like Knights of the Old Republic, which was like my first big RPG that was really like, oh man, like you can get games that are way deeper than just like, dudes on a screen moving around, like RTSs or something like that. Majesty, obviously a big one because it's one of my first like actual games. And then the just kind of like Battlefront 2, I guess, was one of the big ones because that was like the first one I really got into, like the original one from 2005, not the remake one that came out like a few years ago. But that was like the first like multiplayer online game that I ever really got into was Battlefront 2. Like met a bunch of cool people through that. So
that game was so cool. Yeah, they did that game a disservice by remaking it. They should have just left it alone.
Yes.
It's my opinion. But anyways, what about you, Andrew?
Yeah, so at the top of the list for me is still The Witcher 3. The game I think is just a really amazing RPG in general. The characters, the writing, top tier. Honestly, still unmatched in my opinion. They couldn't even top it with Cyberpunk. I love the world and how your decisions actually matter and shape things on like a world level, but also on like very like character kind of simple level. Like it just they did such a good job. And like I'm listening to all the audiobooks now, and like I'm wrapping up the series after taking a little bit of a break, and it's like just the attention to detail and the care and like the way that they integrated certain events and characters and things into the games that came from the books. It's like you can tell that they were very passionate about this series. And outside of The Witcher 3 just being a fantastic game, like it released at a time where I was like in a kind of a funk personally, and so it very much was like my therapy at that time. Like I would just kind of get home from work and like I just played The Witcher 3 until it was time to go to bed, and like just soaked up that game and that world. And it was like everything that I wanted it to be. My brother and another buddy of ours, we were all playing it kind of at the same time and comparing like, well, I did this in this quest. What did you do? What happened? And we all beat it. And then we all immediately rolled into New Game Plus and like played it again. And it was such a good experience. And I still enjoy it now, and I'm actually itching to play it again currently. So it's not like it's just kind of a moment in time. Like I really enjoy that game. Think it still holds up. For me, I didn't cop out, and Bloodborne was the game that I chose. I do have Elden Ring further down the line as like an honorable mention.
Yeah.
But Bloodborne was the game that got me into the Souls games. And other than Elden Ring, it has no competition in the whole genre for me. Like just the setting, combat, the lore, the story, just the designs. It's a masterpiece. And yes, I would take a remake or a sequel or something. And definitely after playing Elden Ring and going back to it, it's like, yeah, I can see how it's aged a bit, but like I can still go back to it and it's still a great time. The muscle memory is there and it still feels good to play. And then for me, like those are the two big ones. So I threw together like a list of kind of honorable mentions, and most of them are recent because I think video games are just getting better in general. Mm-hmm. Obviously, like I have nostalgic picks, but like for me, some of the games that stand out, Spider-Man, mentioned that earlier. Spider-Man PS4, it's like the perfect blend of like nostalgia with how you thought Spider-Man 2 played on the GameCube PS2 era, but also just like way better and had an amazing story that made me cry at the end. Red Dead 2, fantastic game. God of War, Elden Ring, like I mentioned earlier. I also mentioned I'm a fan of the Assassin's Creed series. I like the old ones. I like the new ones. I'm not one of those people that's like, they need to go back to the way it was or they need to keep it the way it is. Like I enjoy both. I do think they've had some weaker titles recently, but I still enjoy the series. And then one of the games that did come to mind when I was making this list that was older was Wind Waker. Like that game definitely jumps out at me as like just being, when I think of like GameCube and childhood games and like formulative games and stuff like that, Wind Waker always pops up. Everything from the art style to the music to just like that game felt so massive and like you could explore and do so much. I go back now and it's like, oh, I could beat this in like 25 hours. But back then, like it was so incredible and I really enjoy it and I hope that it comes to Switch at some point. So those are kind of some of the ones I threw together. Obviously, if I had more time, like I really love some of the old Mega Man games on the DS. Like there's tons of games that I played that I would say were important to me at different stages in my life. But when I was throwing this list together, these are some of the ones that jumped out at me.
Right, absolutely. I want to ask one side tangent question, considering it seems like we've all had extensive experience with The Witcher 3 here.
Yeah.
It is a well-known fact that I have a personal vendetta against card games and video games. So I wanted to ask how you guys felt about Gwent.
Gwent is amazing. I think that Gwent in the core game of The Witcher 3 is a lot of fun. And once you realize that spies in I think it's the Northern Realms deck is just like, that's the OP build. And you just like, you just throw out spies and can destroy. Gwent as a standalone and Thronebreaker, I have tried to get into, and they just haven't really stuck with me as much because I actually like, I don't love deck builders as a genre, like, Slay the Spire. Going back to earlier conversations, people talk about how that game is just like God tier and they put 400 hours into it. I played it. I thought it was cool. I haven't gone back to it. And so when I try to just play standalone Gwent or standalone like Thronebreaker, which is just, essentially Gwent with a slight RPG skin on it, I enjoy it and I want to like it more than I do. But also they drastically changed how the game worked because in The Witcher 3, I don't think they realized how big it was going to get. And so it really isn't necessarily that well balanced, that perfect of a card game. And so in Gwent standalone and in Thronebreaker, they try to make it a little bit more, they trim the fat, they try to make it more balanced, they try to make it more competitive, they try to make different builds and different decks more viable. And like, I just haven't had the motivation to actually dig into all that stuff. But core game, I like it. Conceptually, I like it. Just card builders also are not necessarily, deck builders are not necessarily like my thing.
Interesting. Yeah, I just remember my playthrough with it, and like everybody that wanted to like, I didn't even do like the Gwent quest line. I was just like, I don't want to play a card game in my video game. I just want to kill things, please. So, no, I just had to ask that question.
The card game is interesting, that quest line, because it's once you start that quest where you go like to go to the tournament is what you're talking about. I'm assuming when you get to the tournament, you can't like save. So you have to beat all of the opponents in the tournament to the end without failing to get like that achievement or whatever, because I've done it a couple times, but it's very stressful if you like do it too early or whatever, because if you get about halfway through or to the second to the last opponent and you fail out, it's like, okay, I either let this quest go and let it wrap up, however, because they have endings written for it depending on where you lose. So you can just let the game keep going, but you don't get the achievement for winning. And so you have the choice of like, do I just let the game keep going, or do I go back to that save at the beginning of the tournament and start over? And it's like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
Man, that's probably why I didn't do it then. I couldn't handle that stress. And yeah, I already have anything that's a deck builder. I've tried those. I've tried the Hearthstones, and I don't think I have like the brain acumen to like build good synergized decks. I'm just like, oh, that thing looks cool. Let me put it in there. And it doesn't synergize with anything that I have. So yeah. So we're coming to the end here, and I'm going to wrap it up. But I don't have a game on my show. But I wanted to devise like a fun thing for us to do. Yeah. So I devised, I'm calling it the lightning round, copyrighted, trademarked.
Let's do it.
So I just have a quick list here, and I'll go along with you guys. I'll tell you mine as well.
Yeah.
Of just like quick 8 questions I just put that I figured would be fun to go through. So if you guys are ready, are you guys ready to go?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Ready. Okay, perfect. So first question I had was game you think is underrated.
I know for me, the one that comes to mind, and to be fair, like I don't feel like this is necessarily like you've never heard of this yet. Like it's Mass Effect 3. I feel like Mass Effect 3 gets so much hate and like was drastically underrated below like Mass Effect 1 and 2. And I think it is a fantastic game. The fact that you still have the free will and agency to choose right up until the end was maybe game breaking or like just disappointing for a lot of people. Like if you're actually role playing the game, like then you're going to make the choice that goes along with what you've been playing and doing the entire time. And it's just, I love that game because it wraps up all of these things that have been being set up for like 2.5 games. And it just like, every single one has this big, like emotional and satisfying ending to it. So that's going to be mine personally, just because I feel like it gets a lot of hate in gaming circles. It's one of the fun ones to like pile on and, you know, be like, Mass Effect 3 was so bad or whatever, the ending, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I loved it. I thought it was great. I've played it through like without the patch that tweaked the ending, and I played it through after they tweaked the ending. I love both. So I was fine with it before they tweaked the ending personally. So
that's a good one. Like I said, the popular pick's always Mass Effect 2, so I like that one a lot. That's really good. What about you, Andrew?
So is this lightning round where we give our answer and then we get to expound on it for a long time, or are we just supposed to like lightning?
Yeah, it's not one of your lightning rounds, I don't think. Maybe it is.
You can give I was intending it to be a little quicker, but you can give a little explanation if you want. That's fine. No big deal.
Because my struggle is that I have like 3 that popped in my head, and I could definitely think of more. I probably should have gone first because when Dylan was talking, I had time to think of more.
Okay.
Man, okay, let me do honorable mentions. I'll do Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy and Darksiders 3. Darksiders as a series. And then the one I'll actually maybe talk about for a minute is Days Gone.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Your Days Gone.
That's a good one.
I think that as far as like games in the genre go, like open world games and zombie games, like I think that Days Gone did an excellent job at both. I think that it was a little bit maybe like bloated and kind of maybe had some pacing issues for sure. And it had some definite technical hiccups when it released on the PlayStation 4. But then by the time I played it, because I didn't play it at launch, they had patched a lot of that. And now definitely on PS5, like it runs pretty well. But like, because it was being held up to the standards of your Last of Us 2s, of your Spider-Man, of your God of War, all the other PlayStation exclusive games, it got overly criticized. And I think that game does a lot of really fun things. And I don't think that it like breaks the open world genre, like that mold too much. But I do think the few things that it does differently. Like the survival stuff with like the motorcycle and with the horde battles and things like that are really fun. And I actually, some of this is pacing, but like towards the back half of the game, the story goes some pretty crazy places and some wild places and introduces some cool characters that I wasn't expecting and really enjoyed.
I think, yeah, I mean, I guess I've heard mixed things on Days Gone. I've been meaning to go and check it out.
Days Gone is one of those games that like
fascinating.
The community versus the critical reception are like so opposed,
right?
Because it has such a diehard following. But like, if you just looked at reviews for it, it would be like, yes, this is a 6 out of 10.
That's so weird, and it's a shame that Bend Studios kind of got wrapped into working with Naughty Dogs, and they didn't get a chance to do a sequel because I think they probably would have been a much better sequel.
Yeah, they could have totally Jedi Fallen Ordered it and been like, oh yeah, this is a great proof of concept. Now let's like tweak it and make it the best it can be and release a sequel. I guarantee Days Gone 2 would have been a much better, probably even critically better game.
100%. I'll do mine quick. Final Fantasy IX. It is the best of the PS1 era Final Fantasies. It is better, also better than Final Fantasy X. I'll fight anybody that says otherwise. So
I will not fight you on that because I've never played either. So
okay, well, 7 and 10 are the golden children, but 9's better. That's all I have to say. Moving on. Okay, so opposite end of the spectrum, I had a game you guys think is overrated.
Yeah. This one was
take here.
Yeah, this one was tough because I was like, most of the games that I would like be like, oh, that's overrated, are games that I just don't vibe with me personally.
Exactly.
And so the one that I just like, I feel like I get, but I just don't get the hype around it is Fallout 3. Like that's one where I'm just like, I get it, I understand it. I've played through like 60% of it, and it was just like, some of it is definitely like I prefer the fantasy over the like nuclear apocalypse, but the way that people talk about Fallout 3 makes it sound like it's this amazing game, and I'm just like, it's an okay game, but like it's nothing crazy, it's nothing special to me. I don't know. So
it was Fallout 3 was actually my gateway into Bethesda. Wow. Believe it or not, because I bought Oblivion and I hated it. I thought I was just like, I hate this. And then it wasn't until Fallout 3 that it kind of clicked. So that's interesting though. So what about you, Andrew?
Final Fantasy 9.
God damn. I'm ending the meeting. Goodbye. This is done.
This one was also kind of tough for me because like usually if a game is well regarded, it's for a reason. There's a couple, I guess, that come to mind. One that I can't speak to as much because I didn't give it that much of a fair shake, but like Resident Evil 4, people talk about how that game is like so amazing and still holds up. Like I couldn't get past the janky controls. And then the Uncharted series comes to mind.
Ooh.
I've played 1, 2, and part of 3, probably about half of 3, and I'm just like, this is okay. This is fine. Like, I don't hate it, but I don't understand what all the praise is about. Mm-hmm. And I hear that 4 is the best, but I feel like I could probably expand that to all of Naughty Dog. Like, the more I play their games is like, I think they're really good at characters and relationships and interactions, but I don't ever really feel like I'm having a ton of fun playing their games. Like I don't usually enjoy the gameplay of any of their games. I think Last of Us 2 expanded on and improved the formula that Last of Us 1 had, but it's still like I don't ever really feel the itch to go back to that gameplay. Like I see these crazy John Wick like compilations on YouTube of like Ellie just going through and just wrecking stuff and throwing bricks and shooting, and like it's like, damn, that looks cool. I don't even want to try. Like I don't even want to play it. Even this doesn't make me want to replay that game. And like I think the stories and the characters and stuff are fun in those games, but I just don't really think that their gameplay is all that fun.
I wish we could have the Crash Bandicoot Jack and Daxter Naughty Dog back. That's what I miss.
I do love Crash Bandicoot. I haven't played a lot of those games recently, but I remember playing Crash like on my Game Boy and stuff like that back in the day.
One has not aged that well, believe it or not. So
not too surprising.
For mine, game I think is overrated. GTA 5. Hands down, 100%. So I love Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. I think they're fantastic. I think that every other Rockstar game that has come out has been kind of overrated. I think for me, I understand that Rockstar
we can't do this at the end of the podcast.
No. So narratively, Rockstar puts out great games. It's 2022. Can we not, like, we figured out controls, Rockstar. Like, we know how to do this. Like, why have you guys not figured it out?
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's pretty much my main sticking point with that. Most GTA 5. Red Dead Redemption gets passed because those games are fucking awesome.
It's because they started developing that game that came out in 2022 back in like 2009. So.
2000, yeah, right. It's just been one game for 13 years.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Man. Hopefully they figured it out when they launched GTA 6 in 2030.
Yeah.
Here's hoping.
We'll see.
Yeah. So next question I have is game you'd like to see get a modern remake a la Final Fantasy VII remake.
This one was easy.
Prince of Persia?
Yes, Prince of Persia, the Sands of Time trilogy.
Oh, yes.
I'm really struggling right now, isn't it?
That would be dope.
I was like, I know that it's getting a remake. I don't have a lot of faith in it because it's gotten delayed so many times. The footage has not looked great. I don't need it to look great. I just want to play it on like a modern control scheme with like somewhat updated graphics, but that's easy. That's, I love those games and I would love to be able to play them again and have it look a little bit nicer.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I've got two picks. The first one that I'll just go quick because it's obvious is Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Oh,
that would be fantastic because I've wanted to go back to that game, but it's like pretty much all the versions are still dated at this point. And so like if they did like a full on FF7 remake style game of that would be amazing. Even if they just made it in like the style of Breath of the Wild, it would still be.
Do you do that good. Though? Is that's sacrilege? You don't touch that. That seems like it'd be. Man.
Well, but people would have said that about Final Fantasy VII.
That's true. You're right. That's true. It could totally work.
But the one that I think is more under the radar that people need to go Google is Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy, which is another game that got brought up on our old show a lot by me and my sister. And that is a Zelda-esque style game where you play as two different characters, Sphinx, who's like your action hero, and then the mummy who is dead, so he can like take on elemental damage, and like if he gets sliced in half, he like becomes two versions of himself. And so like that half of the game is like puzzle solving. If you're on fire, you have to do like puzzles that like, use fire. Sphinx is like fighting the monsters and stuff. And this is a game that we played on GameCube that like to us felt huge and crazy, and like anytime we got to the next part of it felt like an achievement because we were stuck in that one area for so long. I've replayed it recently. They did a remaster on Switch a couple years ago, and I still think it holds up and it's a lot of fun, but it definitely feels a lot more linear and a lot smaller than I remembered. And so I think that if this game either got like just a crazy blown out remake or some sort of like a reboot or sequel or something like that was modern, I think it could be really cool. It's a really fun kind of like Egyptian lore based property that I think could be really fun.
I Googled it while you were talking, and I was like, I have no idea what this game is, but I have memories of I've seen the game case. Yeah. So I have come across this game before.
It's on Switch. You should check it out.
Okay. I'll move it to the top of the list. I think I have to.
We'll do an episode about it.
For sure. For me, I would like to see they already kind of did it with when they did Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia. They remade an older one with more modern take. I'd like to see them do that with more of the older ones, especially the ones that never came over from Japan. The very, very, very first Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon was the one with Marth. And I think people know Marth from Smash Bros. So I think it'd be cool to kind of do Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, or even the original ones that came over originally on the GBA to North America would also be very cool. So That is my short answer. Favorite console?
Mine's a little bit like, I think the console that impacted me the most is probably the Xbox 360. Just because that was like at the peak time where it was like playing online. It was the like go-to console of like us hanging out as our friend group. Like, you know, that was what we were playing Rock Band on. That was what we were playing, you know, Halo, Left 4 Dead, all of those kind of things on when we would get together. And that's what we would play online on, you know, outside of that. But I'm also a little biased. Like, the Xbox Series X is new and cool and awesome. And so, you know, like, I love that too. So I don't have a lot of nostalgia, like, glasses for my stuff. It's like, this one's the newest and the best. I like this one. So
that's fair.
Yeah, I think for me, if I look back nostalgically, it's the GameCube, because that was kind of that gateway, that entry into the world of console gaming and like bigger games coming off of like handhelds and stuff. I think if I had to pick a game or a console currently, like out of the current family, like it's tough because I love the Switch for its functionality and like indies and Nintendo first party games. But I think that it needs a little bit of an update to keep up right now. And I think if I'm going to play a game and it's available to me on all the consoles currently, I go for my Xbox. Yeah. I think that controller is the most comfortable. I don't think the PS5 like rumble trigger stuff is like enough for me to pick a game there. I am playing Tales of Arise there because I got it cheaper there. So like those two are pretty comparable to me at this point. The PS5 and the Xbox Series X. If I had to pick like ugliest console, it would be PS5.
Good answer.
Yes, absolutely. No, I'm in the same boat. I was firmly an Xbox person until, I mean, I don't have a Series X yet, but I still prefer to game on Xbox. I think my answer would be the same. The 360 was incredibly formative. That's when I finally realized like what games could actually be, and played a ton with my friends on the 360. So that was a great console. Game you spent the most number of hours on, and I might know this for Dylan, maybe.
Yeah. So we actually, in a recent recording, we actually looked this up for ourselves. The one that I know for a fact that I've spent the most hours on is Monster Hunter, because I've spent over 400 hours playing Monster Hunter World.
Hell yeah.
The one that I suspect might potentially have overtaken it is World of Warcraft, just because I've played that off and on for 10 years at the, like 2004, 2005. Like, I played during the second expansion, so it's been forever since I've been playing that game.
Okay.
And I'm not currently subscribed, so I couldn't like log in and get like my time played.
Right.
But it is one that I feel like probably overtakes it, just because that game has been ongoing for years and years and years. And then, you know, there's also a possibility of like, you know, one of the old school Halos being in there, and before like tracking was a thing. So
right.
But yeah, the one I know for sure is Monster Hunter, by a long shot too. Like, the closest one is still like 150 hours off of it. Man. So
yeah,
I'll drink to that, sir.
I'm not sure exactly when this releases, but probably our episode that we talked about this on at the end will be out. And like Dylan said, we looked it up. I looked mine up live on the episode, and Netflix was my most played.
Imagine that.
But I'm pretty sure I have more hours. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dylan. I have more hours in the game that I'm about to mention than you do in Monster Hunter, and that was The Witcher 3.
Yeah, you had like 500 something hours in
Witcher
3.
And that was only on Xbox, and I know I've played it through on PlayStation, and I'm probably going to buy it on Switch and download on PC. And so, yeah, The Witcher 3 for me, for sure.
That's wild. No pun intended. Wild Hunt. Bad joke. Yeah, for me, it's Monster Hunter World by far. Easily 400 hours if I had to guess. Surprisingly, I looked mine up too. Surprisingly, Destiny 1 was not far behind with 375 hours. Wow, so yeah,
I think Destiny 2 was in second place, but it was still a little short of Monster Hunter.
Yeah, so big news there. What was my next question here? So, standard or inverted controls? And
standard
all the way.
Standard, easy. Okay, cool.
You're a monster if you prefer inverted. I'll just put that out there right now.
I don't know if I do inverted flying because I don't fly in games all that often. I might do it in flying games, but that's like more acceptable in my mind. So
I'm sorry, Brian of Listoff. Please don't listen to this.
No, please do. You're wrong. Get off that hill. Don't die on that hill because you're wrong.
This is a hill to die on, that's for sure. Have you ever taken time off of work to play a game when it comes out?
I have not personally. I would say the closest I've ever gotten is like I used to work like an overnight shift where I was kind of just like one of the dorms like monitors, like making sure if you got locked out of your room at 3 a.m. that I could call somebody and help you get back in, sort of deal.
Right.
And so I didn't take time off work, but I played a lot of Diablo 3 right when it came out overnights there. But other than that, I haven't. I think the closest I got was maybe Elden Ring, but I never ended up pulling that trigger just because my work schedule provided me with enough flexibility that I was like, that's fine. Like I can go to work for like 5 hours and come back and play this. So.
Nice.
It's funny you mentioned Elden Ring because I can't really think of a time in the past, but when Elden Ring came out, I just so happened to be at home sick. So like I didn't actually take time, like I didn't call in just for the game. You
sounded awful too. Like I can confirm that he was legitimately like congested as all hell. Like
if you go like I'm pretty sure like you could probably find the stream highlights on our YouTube of like when we were playing Elden Ring when it first came out. Like I was actually homesick, but I was still like, you know what? I'm going to make the most of it. And like Dylan said earlier, we set our time to New Zealand. We played it like the day before and I was home already. So I was like, hell yeah. And the wife went to work, the kid went to daycare, and it was like, this is fantastic. So
this was meant to be.
Exactly. It was fate.
You had to suffer, but it was worth it.
I didn't have like any tests or any like big assignments due. It was like all the clouds parted, and other than the fact that I like couldn't breathe, I was like, "This is amazing."
This never happens. I shamefully have. I used to take off anytime they came out with the Destiny expansion and play it same day, like all day, and go through it. Yeah, it was.
And then you got fired. Weird.
Yeah, I couldn't get that lucky. And no, that job you could have. You could have literally shot somebody and they would not have fired you. But,
interesting. What job was that?
Not that I ever wanted to, but maybe in a couple of days. But I was deep in the Destiny cycle, and then anytime there was a new expansion coming out, I took off work to play. I was one of the first people to attain for House of Wolves the new light cap level of 34. One of the first people to do it, so I was very, very proud of myself. Yeah. Looking back, it wasn't worth it because now you can't play that game anymore. So it doesn't matter. Nothing.
It mattered at the time.
It mattered at the time. One of the coolest things I've ever done. Now it doesn't matter. So, and then final question here: anything in the future that you're looking that's coming out in the near future?
See, like this is the hard one for me because like for the longest time my answer was Elden Ring. And so
it's like,
now
what do we do?
Like what am I like? I guess the easy one for me is Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. I'm pumped for the expansion to come out. Like Iceborne was fantastic. I'm ready to get back into some Monster Hunter and play it. So that'll probably be the one. Forspoken also looks really cool. I'm interested in seeing how that.
I'm very interested in Forspoken too.
But like Monster Hunter is like the big one. But yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough after Elden Ring because that was like Elden Ring obviously. So
right.
Yeah, as far as games that are like on the horizon. I'm hopeful for Gotham Knights. They released some gameplay today, and it's like, oh, I hope they polish this a little bit more.
Right.
But as far as games that we know are supposed to come out, I'm extremely excited for Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine, both by Insomniac. Yeah. We've talked about Knights of the Old Republic. There's supposed to be like a remake of that, which I think would be cool. Really cool. Like there's a lot of stuff that's been announced, but it's so nebulous. Like I'm excited about Fable. But it's like, these are all just things that like potentially are going to come out at some point. We don't really have like concrete
in the
details.
Future.
Yeah. Like this year, I think Elden Ring was the big one. I'm trying to think of like holiday games, and maybe after not E3, like Summer Game Fest or whatever, when we get like all our announcements and stuff, I'll have some more stuff I'm excited about that's supposed to come out this year.
Yeah.
But for me, it's a lot of stuff that's a little bit more nebulous, a little bit further out.
Right. Yeah. RE4 remake will probably come out this year or early.
Yeah, but I'm not going to play that. So
maybe it'll be better.
But like the controls will be fixed,
Yeah, but it's still going to scare me.
Well, yeah, you are a baby.
Yeah, it's still scary.
This was a more difficult question too, because a couple weeks ago it looked like there was some stuff coming out the end of this year, but with Starfield and Redfall pushing now, it's like
it's just God of War 2.
I was going to say God of War.
Confident in that.
Yeah,
God of War. I'll definitely probably pick that up either day one or close to it and play it, because I think it's going to be really good. I really like the first one, but I'm not like, it's not like Elden Ring where I was counting down the days and like soaking up the like pre-release information, because like I want to play this game so bad. I'm like, yeah, whenever it comes out, I'm definitely going to play it because it's going to be good. But I'm not like that level of hype about it.
Yeah,
right. I'm still not convinced that we'll get that this year.
No,
I'm. After Starfield moving, I'm like, okay, anything. The only thing that, if you ask me, I had to pick one thing that I guarantee will not miss the release date, it's Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pokemon does not miss release dates. The Pokemon Company, Nintendo, need their money. That's not going to miss. That will be in whatever state it is when it launches. 100%.
And it'll still get 9 out of 10.
And it'll sell millions. Yeah.
It'll still, yes, despite being almost the same exact game.
Yep.
Speaking of
overrated games.
Sneaking in at the end, just piss off that whole fan base.
But
come listen to our show, please.
There's going to be a man that shows up in a Pikachu costume at your house to deal with you later, probably.
Mr. Pokemon.
Yeah. Actually, can I go back and change my remake one? Majesty remake would be sweet.
Oh, man, yeah.
Yes.
Can we talk? Yeah. Sorry, I had to bring that back in, but well, that's the lightning round, and not the not so lightning round. Thank you guys, appreciate it very much.
It was a big thunderstorm. Like, we live in the South, and so like when a storm rolls in, like it parks there for a minute. So that's what we're used to.
It just stays. So. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're going to wrap it up here. This was awesome. Really appreciate it. Do you guys just want to take a second to drop all your socials, tell people where they can find you, what you're doing, shill whatever you like. This is the shill section of the show, so feel free to.
Okay, well, you can find all of our stuff at www.number1majestyfancast. No, but for real, you can find everything like on our website, which is effinggamers.com. Like, that is probably the easiest way to find us. I'm going to give Eric all of our links to everything. We have a Discord. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel where we do kind of like smaller reviews. We do Twitch highlights. We do stuff like that. We stream on Twitch every Friday night at the bare minimum. We're looking at exploring that, doing a little bit more. Podcast comes out every Monday. We do interviews with awesome people like Eric, and then do like, deeper dives into games that we love, whether they're new or not. I mean, one of our more recent episodes was about Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War, the Lord of the Rings games, and those have been out for a long time. So yeah, I mean, if you just look up your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers, you look for our logo, like that was one of the things we did better about, this project versus the last one, is like we branded everything a lot more clearly. But like I said, I'm going to give Eric everything. So just like check the show notes. It'll all be there. But yeah, your Friendly Neighborhood Gamers were probably going to be one of the top results. Dylan, anything else that I forgot?
No, I think you covered it. So yeah, just, if you've got space in your life for another podcast, we'd appreciate you checking us out and seeing if you like us. So
I would say evaluate the podcast you're listening to, and then just remove the one that you're kind of on the fence about and put this one in its place for sure, because your life will certainly be better for it. Get rid of one of the big guys. You don't need all those IGN podcasts. Like they're all saying the same thing. So
they don't even know how to edit.
Yeah, if you do IGN, GameSpot, and Kind of Funny, like just pick one of those and drop it.
Calling you out, IGN, call us, come at us, let's go. But no, guys, again, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. This was awesome.
And, thanks for having us, dude. It was a ton of fun. Really enjoyed it.
Let's do it again. I look forward to Monster Hunter and Majesty collaborations. I was going to say
the Majesty spin-off podcast that's about to start.
How many episodes can we do on it? Like today, we're breaking down the wizard class.
I was going to say, you do classes and like buildings and stuff. It could probably go for a year at least.
Probably could.
We could talk at least a few times about Majesty 2, the very disappointing sequel.
So disappointing that I forgot it existed until you brought it up.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Right. So, all right, guys. And to everybody listening, thank you so much for spending just a little bit of time with us. And if you take anything away from this episode of the podcast, go buy Majesty Unseen for $10 and play it.
Yes.
Thanks again, everybody. Take it easy.